All right, we're recording. I actually started recording, and then I was like, "Oh man, I just got something to drink, but I didn't actually take a drink of it." And I was like, "I'll just pause this while I get a drink." And I'm like, "I'm 3 seconds into this video. I'll just start a new video." So I did. Uh, so I'll start out with good news before I start getting all pessimistic and venting and stuff. I Something popped into my head today, and I've been dwelling on it all day long, and it was income tax returns. I think I had it set up to where my previous employer doesn't send me a return. I just like log into my HR profile and get my W-2 from there. I don't remember ever doing my taxes by looking at a piece of paper with this company. So I was like, crap, I forgot to print that off before I quit the company. Now I'm going to have to call and figure out how to get in touch with HR to get them to mail me my W-2. So I've been stressing about that all day. And then I get home today, and that's just the blank side, doesn't have any of my info on it. But this is it. It was in my mailbox. Like, wow, that is awesome. So I don't have to worry about that. So that's pretty sweet. What did we do today? We had a new instructor today. It seems like they only have like 2 full-time instructors. I think some guy named Raleigh and then Daryl. Gary's the director, and all he does is orientation and kind of organize and manage everything. Um, so he does the classroom stuff. And then there's Cindy is part time. Bruce, who we had today, is part time. And David is, I don't even know if he works there anymore. He's like kind of part time. Um, all the part time people are like semi retired or like David. I don't even want to get into all the reasons why they're not full time. But I think they only have 2 full-time instructors besides Russ. Russ is a full-time instructor, but he's a trainee and he's not properly licensed. Um, so they've been just swapping out instructors like crazy on us, and then we're just full-time with the trainee instructor. I talked about how annoying and how frustrating and how we're not getting our money's worth in the last video, so I'm not going to rant and rave about that anymore. Russ is a really good guy. Don't get me wrong. I like Russ. He's a good guy. He's got like 40 years of driving experience. That's awesome. I really am not here to learn, like whatever. I'm here to learn CDL University's pre-trip and practice the backing maneuvers and know what I need to know to do the road test. I could care less about 40 years of driving experience. Uh, so Russ at this point hasn't memorized all of the pre-trip, which is the main thing that we're having issues with. He's really good at backing. He can do all the maneuvers and everything, but he hasn't been trained on how to train somebody else to do it. I mean, he's decent, but like he's still being trained, and it kind of pisses me off that we have him as our full-time instructor, and we occasionally have one of the part-time people come in. We actually had one of the full-time people, Daryl, yesterday, because all of his students were testing. 3 of the 4 passed their CDL tests, so he was back with those people today, and we had Bruce, who's working part-time. I mean, every instructor we've had so far has been really nice, and every instructor aside from Russ has been very knowledgeable, and they know the system. Russ just hasn't been there long enough to learn the system. So that's the annoying thing. So we got in there, we graded some homework assignments, which I've already done all my homework for the rest of the class so that I can focus on pre-trip in my free time. I'm going to pause this for a second and get another drink. And I think it's recording again. I don't have my glasses on. I have to really lean in there to check and make sure the timer's ticking away. So we graded some papers, and then we We were actually just sitting around. Was it? I can't. I'm starting to think about whether that was yesterday or today when we were. No, that was yesterday when the recruiter was there. That we were sitting around waiting for our instructor to tell us what to do, and Gary, the director, came and told us to get out of there and go do something. And we were like, all right. So we just went outside, and our instructors were out there waiting on us. It was awkward, but that was yesterday. Today, after we finished grading our papers, we went out and did pre-trips. I did. So we had Russ, the trainee, and then we had Bruce, the veteran part-time person. Bruce took our 2-week people, and they did like one of the front sections that we've already done 100 times. Not 100 times, like we did it last week. Russ took myself and Keith, and we did the section C, which is the trailer. And I pretty much did the whole pre-trip on the trailer without any major issues. I probably would have passed the CDL test with it. But I really need to, in my opinion, do a better job of memorizing it, because it was a lot of me sitting there going, okay, give me a second, okay, this is next. And I'm not 100% what the CDL University verbiage is. And what I mean by verbiage is, like, I know the system's in order. Like, you start out on the trailer with clearance lights, and then you go overall condition, and then you do airlines, and then you do electric line, and then you move from there to the side of the trailer. So when I'm doing the front of the trailer, I know those systems and the order we're supposed to do them in, but I don't know exactly what we're supposed to say about them. Like on clearance lights, I think it's no cracks or breaks, properly mounted. We're supposed to start with properly mounted and secured. So properly mounted and secured with nuts and bolts, no breaks or cracks. They work. They are amber in color. And I think that's all we're supposed to say about those lights. And then in overall condition, we're supposed to say no holes, rips, tears, or bulges, something like that. I'm not 100% sure. And then we say things about the airlines and the glad hands and the rubber grommets, and you go through each system, pointing out every item in the system and what you're looking for that item. And I know all the items. I don't know the exact verbiage of what we're looking for, but I can sit there and look at it and go, well, we're looking to make sure there aren't any leaks or cuts or holes or anything in it. And so I may not say it exactly like CDL University wants us to say it, but I can say enough that the examiner would know that I'm inspecting the item. They don't have, like, if I don't say CDL University's exact verbiage, that's not necessarily going to mess me up on anything. But I'm going to try to learn it. So we drove around town for the first half of the day. I think we finished doing the pre-trip stuff around 9 a.m. And then we drove around for about 3 hours or so, and went to lunch. We stopped at the same place where the KFC and Long John Silver's is at. One person went to KFC, I went to Long John Silver's, and the other 3 or 4 people, I think there were 6 total of us, so I guess it'd be 4 people. The other 4 people went to some place called Madison's across the street and had chicken fried steak and some other stuff. After lunch, we drove to the Crossroads Mall parking lot, the abandoned mall, and we did the alley dock. So I was the very first one to do the alley dock. That's the maneuver that I want to work on, because it's the only one that is a skill maneuver in my opinion. All the rest of the maneuvers are just memorization and reference points. You just got to line this up to this, and then turn the wheel all the way, and then line that stuff I don't want to do repeatedly. I just want to do it once or twice to make sure that I've got the system down. The alley dock is you have to get a feel for the truck and how it maneuvers. And I haven't driven one of these trucks in so long, and every one of the trucks is a little different. And these are 48-foot trailers. I'm used to, like, last time I was driving, I was hauling 53s, so they're a little bit shorter. So I want to do the alley dock over and over and over again until I get a good feel for it. And so that's what we were doing today. I was the first one to go, and basically the first time I did the alley dock, all I did was sit there, and the instructor told me, turn the wheel this way, turn the wheel that way, and I just did exactly what the instructor told me. And we had, I think we had to pull up once or twice or something, but we eventually got it in there. But I was just following instructions. When somebody is sitting there, and I think I've gone over this in previous videos, I hate this learning method. You don't learn anything doing this. When somebody is sitting there telling you, do this, do this, do this, my brain shuts off, and I'm just following directions. I'm not learning anything at that point. If somebody says, write down A, now write down B, now write down C, now write down D, I'm not learning my ABCs when somebody's telling me to do that. I'm just writing down what they tell me to do. If they were to take that piece of paper away from me and ask me what order I wrote those down in, I would have no idea. I'm just following their instructions. That's not learning. So that's what I did on the first maneuver, and that's the way they like to teach. And then on the second maneuver, he asked me if I wanted him to walk me through it or if I wanted to try to do it myself. And because they don't know how to teach people to do stuff there, I said that I would prefer to do it myself. So I did it. He said that I did it without any point loss, but I think I did an extra pull-up. You're allowed 2 pull-ups, and I think I did 3 pull-ups, and I got it in there. And then the third time I did it, when I went to do my first pull-up to correct, he came out and started the step-by-step instruction again, and I just shut off and just started doing what he told me to do. So all in all, I think I did really, really good on the alley dock. But I've done everything basically perfect up to this point. And so the other people in the class were like, I don't know why you didn't do very good on the alley dock. You've done everything else first time every time. And I didn't really want to respond to that because it kind of ticked me off. There was one guy in the class, Keith. Keith has been driving recently in the oil fields, not properly licensed, but the oil fields don't really care about crap. So he's been driving these trucks. He's been like some kind of fuel person at the oil field sites or whatever. And what he'll do is he moves the truck around after he fuels them. He'll move them up to fuel them, and then he'll back them in somewhere or something. He says that he backs these trucks and drives them around all the time. So he's the second best person in the class as far as, whenever we do maneuvers or driving or anything like that. And he said that he is probably going to be the best backer because he has been backing all the time. That's mainly what he said he's been doing in the oil fields, is backing these trucks up. So he was the best backer today. They said that somebody else in the class did the best backing today, but that person was just sitting there listening to the instructor tell them to turn the wheel this way, turn the wheel that way. I didn't want to be negative. I try not to be negative in class. I try to be as positive as possible, tell everybody good job all the time and stuff like that. But it kind of got under my skin that people were calling me out for not doing a good job today because I wasn't perfect as usual. And they were talking about how so-and-so was, did better than me. And he did the best back in the class, and he didn't actually do the back. He just sat there and followed the instructor's directions. I don't even get it. I don't care. But it's to be expected. I'm used to it. I typically learn really quick, and some people can be offended by that. And as soon as I mess up on the slightest little thing, then everybody starts running their mouth about it. So I'm used to it. It doesn't bother me. 2 more weeks. We'll see who learns all this stuff and who the best backer is and who the best driver is when it comes CDL test day. I'm highly confident that I'm going to get my CDL, and I'm highly confident that I'm going to be the only one in my class that gets the CDL. I don't think anybody in my class is going to get it first shot. There might be some people in my class that don't ever get the CDL at all. But and that's pretty sad. I could be completely wrong on that because the instructors are talking about how our class is really amazing, and we're one of the best classes, and they don't have to give us hardly any instruction. Well, let me rephrase that. It's not that they don't have to give us hardly any instruction. It's that we listen to instruction. Now, I will say that everybody in the class is pretty good about listening, because I've dealt with that before in several jobs. Whenever I'm mentoring someone, trying to train them or something, you tell them to do something, and then they go, yeah, okay, and then they go and do their own thing. And I'm not talking like next day. I'm talking like I tell them a sentence to type up, and they type up something completely different. And then I say, that's not what I told you to type up. And they go, okay, yeah. And just like blank stare you like deer in the headlights. It's like, is your brain even functioning? Our class doesn't have that problem. Everybody in our class is pretty good about listening to instruction. So they did praise us on that. They told us that we're all doing really well for how far along in the course we are. I think that everybody in the class is picking it up really quick, and we're all doing really well. We'll see how it is on test day, though. After the maneuvers, we got back and we did our logbooks, signed our daily whatever piece of paper. Don't have any more Kool-Aid. I was going to pause it and get another drink. 17 minutes? I thought we were at about 10 minutes. And then we left for the day. That was about it. Yeah, I think that was about it. I want to do a lot more alley dock. What I really want to do is do the alley dock 3 times in a row, because it's really hard to get your timing and everything down whenever you're just doing it one time and then you're not doing it again for a half an hour to an hour. And then you got 5 minutes of driving, then an hour long wait, and then 5 minutes of driving. Maybe when we get toward the end of class. The only time I've ever seen somebody basically get a truck to themselves to practice maneuvers for, repetition, just sit there and do the same maneuver and over and over and over again without swapping out with somebody else, is whenever they fail a test. So if I fail my CDL test, then I'll probably get my own truck to practice the maneuvers over and over again. It sucks. I've been told that if you have to retake the test, it's $250. We'll see. I'm gonna be I don't know. I haven't been told any. I've just heard rumor about it's gonna cost me if I have to retest, and that I'm trying not to think of the whole cost of all this, because I'm a little disappointed with what I've received for my $6,000. And then today, Keith and I got to talking about doing the parallel parking and the offset and all that stuff. Keith was like, "Oh, I want to do all those a whole bunch more," because Keith did terrible on those, because it's all reference point stuff. And Keith, I don't think he understands what the reference point stuff is. Keith is like a hillbilly from Arkansas, and it hasn't clicked in his head that he needs to be in the exact same position in the seat using the exact same reference point, and he needs to line the sleeper up with it every time. And what I see him doing whenever he's doing his reference point maneuvers is he's leaning up to be able to look over like this out of the mirror, and that's going to change his reference point when he does that. He needs to set like this whenever he's doing it. And that's the reason that he's doing terrible on the reference point maneuvers, in my opinion. But he wants to go back to doing those because he's doing really well on the alley dock. The alley dock is just looking out the window like this right here and just, winging it in there. And it's just getting a feel for the turning radius of the trailer and the tractor and all of that stuff. And that's what I want to keep working on, is the alley dock. I can memorize reference point maneuvers pretty much first time. I don't need to do those 100 times. What else is there? What else? There were other things, but nothing I really want to talk about. There are some personal things that I don't want to throw out in the public space. This is it. That was it. That was the end of the halfway point. We are graduating to the junior class on Monday. And what Bruce said was that he was our senior and our veteran, our non-trainee instructor that works part-time today. He said that as the classes progress to junior and senior and stuff like that, he tends to give less instruction. And I really liked the way Bruce was talking about. Basically, we are apparently Russ's class, and Bruce was just like, do whatever Russ says, and if Russ wants me to step in, then I will. The only reason Bruce said he was there was for the driving around town stuff. So I'm not going to talk about how annoying it is to pay full price and get a trainee instructor. I've talked about that at length. I'm just getting mad thinking about it right now. But Bruce said that he doesn't like to sit there and tell us, how to turn and stuff like that. He likes to explain to us how it works instead, which is how you're supposed to teach. It's like what I was saying earlier. When somebody just starts telling me, turn the wheel left, all right, back up, okay, stop, turn the wheel all the way right, all right, back up, stop. That is the way that Russ gives instruction on how to back. You're not learning anything when he's doing that. You're just following instructions. That's awesome. We're going to get it parked in that spot. But when it comes test day, Russ isn't going to be there to tell us exactly what to do. And these people that think they're doing really good on these maneuvers because Russ is telling them exactly what to do, when it comes test day, they're just going to get brain locked. They're going to be sitting there going, I have no idea whether I'm even supposed to be turning it left or right. So Bruce said, exactly what you're supposed to do whenever you're training someone on something. You're supposed to teach them what it is they're trying to accomplish and explain to them how to accomplish it. And then maybe walk them through how to do it once, but they need to comprehend what they're trying to do and how to do it. Otherwise, it's just, they're not learning anything. But he talked about understanding the fundamentals. Like, he's the very first person we've had that has told these people that are having problems shifting how a clutch works. He's the first person. We're halfway through class, and he's the first instructor that has told them what a clutch does, and I think he might be the first one to tell them what a clutch brake is. I've told Adam 2 or 3 times that it's a 2-stage clutch, because what Adam is doing is he's pushing it all the way to the damn floor. Well, the clutch is 2-stage. If you press it down, it removes I'm not sure what the exact part name is, but basically it removes the engine from the drive shaft or whatever that goes into the gears. So you have this shaft spinning here, and then you have the gears over here that it's and you're disconnecting the engine from that shaft whenever you're pushing in the clutch, and you're allowing that shaft to spin freely, and then you're bringing the engine back into it. Well, whenever you press the clutch further down, it engages the clutch brake. So the first stage of the clutch just allows it to spin freely. The second stage of the clutch engages a braking mechanism that slows it down to a stop. So you're only really using the clutch brake whenever you're at a complete stop. Whenever the gears are not moving at all, and you need the engine to stop spinning as well, or what, I don't remember the exact name of the parts, but you need them both spinning at the same speed. So when you're at a complete stop and the gears aren't moving, that's when you push the clutch all the way to the floor and get the whatever flywheels and crap. I don't know the exact mechanics name stuff on it, but that's about the only time you use the clutch brake, is whenever you're at a complete stop. But I've explained that to Adam a couple of times, because he's asked me. He's come up and asked me about how far he should push down the clutch and stuff like that. And he said that he's noticed that the clutch works differently based on how far he pushes it down. I explained to him it's a two-stage clutch. Today is the first day that an instructor has explained. I think that previously the word clutch brake has been stated by an instructor, but today is the first day that an instructor, Bruce, has explained how a clutch works. And that's pathetic. That is absolutely pathetic. That we're halfway through the school, and that's the first time somebody's explained how a clutch works. But I'm a big, like, as far as teaching somebody something, I'm the type of person, I need to understand how it works. I don't want to understand how to just perform a task. I need to understand why I'm performing that task, what that task does. You know, I need to understand the fundamentals, the underlying stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna, get my CDL without issue. But I hate this class. I'm looking forward to it being over with. I'm looking forward to getting my CDL, and I hope, oh my goodness, I hope that living in a truck with a stranger for 28 days is not as bad as this school. This school is really irritating. It's really frustrating. I'm really dreading this whole thing. Got to talking today with Bruce about, I don't know, Keith is a country boy from Arkansas who's worked in the oil fields and stuff. He's about as redneck as they get. And Keith was over there trying to strike up conversation with Bruce and asking him about all kinds of weird crap, like totally unrelated to what we were doing. And somehow they got on I was going to say conversation, but the topic of like buying your own truck, becoming an owner operator. And Bruce was giving advice about don't buy one from some, no-name Billy Bob's Diesel and Trucks, because you'll end up getting some truck that's been sitting on the lot for a couple of years and it's beat to hell and hasn't been properly maintained. He said to go to like a Freightliner dealership or someplace like that to buy a truck, because you know that they've had their mechanics go through it and like, work it over and do maintenance on it and stuff like that. You're not getting a piece of junk. And I told him that I was looking at buying one from Ryder. And he said that his company leased from Ryder. and they do really amazing maintenance on those trucks. A lot of preventative maintenance where certain components are only rated for a certain number of miles, excuse me, a certain length of time or a certain number of miles or whatever, and they have schedule A, B, and C maintenances, and they'll go in there and preemptively replace items that tend to wear out at certain periods. So he said that Ryder is a really good place to buy trucks from because they do incredible maintenance on their trucks. So so that was pretty awesome. That means I'm going in the right direction. I have a good plan. I don't remember much of anything else. I'm going to try and wash my car tomorrow. Hand wash my car. I might go down to Home Depot and get some weed and feed. What was the other thing that I needed to do? Oh, the fence. When I go to Home Depot to get weed and feed, I need to get the nuts and bolts and washers to mount the anchor. Yeah. That'll be fun. So, I don't know what I'm going to do tonight. I think I might just slack off. I get up at 5:30 is when I set my alarm, and I get home at about 4:30. So by the time I walk in the door, I've been up for 11 hours, and I just don't really feel like doing a whole lot of studying or anything by that point. And it's 5 o'clock right now. I pretty much started this video as soon as I walked in the door. It's 5:06 right now. So within the first 5 minutes I walked in the door, I started this video. I don't know what I'm going to do tonight. I think I'm just going to take it easy, chill, and then work on my pre-trip stuff tomorrow. I really, really, really want to memorize the pre-trip. There was something I did while I was driving today that he said it would have auto-failed me. I'm trying to remember what in the hell I did while Bruce was driving. Oh, it was a left-hand turn, and I had a green. Not a green arrow, just a regular green. And there were cars that had just come up over a hill that was maybe a quarter mile away, and I was inching my way up to the line trying to make a decision on whether to stop and wait for those cars or to just go for it. And if I would have just gone for it, then I would have had no problem at all. But I waited about 5 seconds, probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that I was just rolling at idle speed of 2 miles an hour up the turn lane. And if I would have made a decision and just went for it and made the turn, I would have been perfectly fine. It was actually a legal turn that I made, but he told me that I probably would have gotten knocked off for that on my driving test, because it takes like 12 or 13 seconds for one of these trucks to go through an intersection, and he thinks that those cars probably had to come to a complete stop because of me doing that left-hand turn. If it were real world, I wouldn't have even thought about whether or not to make that left-hand turn. I would have just made that left-hand turn. The only reason I even questioned it is because I'm preparing for this CDL test, and they're real anal about stupid crap like this. In the real world, there's no one that would have not taken that turn. They wouldn't have even slowed down for it. They would have just made that turn. But I slowed down and thought about whether or not I should, because we're trying to be absolutely perfect for the CDL test and learn that way. So that's the only thing I did bad on the driving. I didn't run a red light or anything crazy like that today. And I didn't technically run the red light. I did start to run it, and I caught myself. Actually, no, I didn't catch myself. I was going for it, and somebody from the back said the light's still red. That was yesterday. Um, it's just I don't know how to describe it. It's like, the old school days when you're a driver's ed and you have a car full of people and the instructor, and you have like all this stupid crap that you have to do. You have to check your mirrors every so many seconds, and you have to do everything perfect and two hands on the wheels, and all of that stuff. Imagine that like 10 times. That's what driving one of these trucks is like, with an instructor and 5 people in the back. And you're trying to process all of that. The simple things like, is the light green or red, is like an afterthought with the other 20 things that you're processing around you. It's not nearly that bad once you get out there into the real world, unless you get into like downtown traffic somewhere. I hate driving in cities. I hate driving in cities on the interstate. Driving in cities in one of these trucks on like city streets, these trucks aren't made for city streets. That was another thing that the instructor Bruce got to talking about today. Was he was telling us to make these turns and everything, and he was like, I asked him if he wanted me to make a right, or just keep going straight. He said, just keep going straight. We can't make a right here. He said, we don't turn on roads that are only one lane, or where you have to go over into opposing traffic to make the turn. He said, we are going into other lanes to drive throughout the city, because we have to, because these streets aren't designed for 60, 70, 80 foot vehicles. And he started talking about how we're going to have to do our CDL test on streets that aren't designed for these, but we're still held to a standard where we're supposed to drive and maneuver these things like we're a car. The ridiculousness of all of it is just, it's absolutely crazy. But that's what we're doing. We're trying to do our best to drive a vehicle on a road that it wasn't designed to be on. It's pretty awesome. But I think we're 37 minutes. I'm just like rambling at this point. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go browse YouTube or something. Thanks for watching the video. I don't know if I'm going to post a video over the weekend. Maybe if I, get all kinds of excited about how well I'm doing on the pre-trip, maybe. Have a good one.